Yeah. Let's talk to Puck in Ohio, who just dropped us that $5 hello. Puck, how are you doing?
Hello, good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, glad to hear from you. What's on your mind?
So I was wondering what lessons we should be taking away from this man versus bear conversation that's been going around social media, since the topic is sexism.
Yes. So I actually just talked to somebody about this the other day. Do you mind if I weigh in first?
Yeah, please. And I suppose walk us through it in case there's anybody who is simultaneously someone who watches YouTube, but is not somebody who has managed to catch this debate. I don't know what 4 or 5 people that might entail, but let's let them know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, somebody who just like took some NyQuil on Friday and has slept since then and just woke up and they don't know what's going on. Yeah. So this man versus bear debate, basically, I believe it started on TikTok. It could have started elsewhere, but it really blew up on TikTok. It's this question where women are being asked if they are stuck in the woods, would they rather be stuck with a man or with a bear? And there is an overwhelming majority of women. In fact, I don't think I've seen a single woman say the man. They're all picking the bear. And this is exploding the internet for a multitude of reasons. But one of the reasons it's so controversial is because a lot of men are taking offense to the question and the answers, but I don't think they're actually looking into the nuance of the answers. And one of the first things that came to mind for me was, if you think it's about you, that should be a red flag. That I think that's the main takeaway.
If you're making the conversation about who you are as a person and how much trust you deserve, then you're totally missing out on the experience of a woman alone in the woods.
Right. Or if you hear of a woman telling her story about the idea of being afraid to be alone with a man and you automatically think she's talking about you, I feel like there's some introspection that needs to be done there. Why did you assume that you were the scary man she's talking about, right? So my brother, my dad, my husband, none of those people think that argument is about them. None of them have taken offense to that because it's not about them. They don't automatically assume that the scary man that's being talked about is them. It's scary men that are being talked about. And I think the main message that people are missing, whether they're missing it on purpose, whether they're missing it just entirely, is there are, as someone, I'm from Arkansas, I have literally been in the woods with a bear. This is coming from personal experience. When I see a bear, there is a 0% chance that that bear is going to be aggressive towards me because I look like their ex-girlfriend. Because I remind them of their mom, because they saw me at a bar and they tried to talk to me and I didn't talk to them. Bears have known motivations, right? It's food, it's sleep, it's mating. That's basically what you can assume a bear is after. Or you're too close to the bear cubs. Those are the reasons you might, on a rare instance, get attacked by bears. And if you look up the actual statistics of bear attacks, it's not that common. So I know when I see a bear, maybe there's a particular stance I need to get into. I know not to turn around and run. I know that I probably need to lay down flat on the ground, play dead, do what I got to do. You can approach a wild animal knowing that the primal instincts are all you have to worry about. With human men, it's not the same way. We read all the time about people who commit crimes because they just wanted to see what it felt like, or because the girlfriend broke up with them, or because the wife left them, or there was a story very recently where a gentleman killed his children to get back at his ex-wife. The motivations are so much broader, and the way to respond to them are so much more difficult to navigate, that's why so many women are saying, I would rather be stuck in the woods with a bear than with a man. They are not saying, I would rather be stuck in the woods with a bear than my husband. I would rather be stuck in the woods with a bear than my brother. They're saying, if it was between a strange man and a bear, I would pick the bear because at least I can somewhat predict the bear's motivations and what they're after. You're not going to get catcalled by a bear. You're not going to get groped by a bear. You're not going to get followed home by a bear unless it's hungry, right? And so I think what's going on, and something we can take away from this, is, especially if you're a man, don't take it so personal. It's not, the debate is not about you, about how you are horrible, how you are violent. If you're not one of those men, then you shouldn't be worried about it. Then the argument should not offend you. what you should be more concerned about is why every woman on the internet is having the same response and what you can do to help them feel safer in society.
Yeah, it's not a issue about an individual. It's an issue of reputation. It's the fact that not all men are bad people or whatever that means, but that all men exist in the category of manliness, and the category of manliness through the acts of a bunch of shitty men, and then maybe quote unquote good men who aren't doing enough to change it, have this reputation. And we all need to be a part of changing that reputation. If your role in changing the reputation of men is stopping assaulting women, then by all goddamn means, do that.
Yes.
For the vast majority of us, our role is in calling out, preventing, and doing things to stop those men from tarnishing the rest of our reputation.
Yes, absolutely. And I think something else that people need to keep in mind is this question is about statistics. This question is about the statistics that prove that the likelihood that there will be violence occurring in the woods in that moment is much higher when you are with a random stranger who is a man versus a bear. Like, you can't ignore statistics. You can't say that you're somebody who believes in science or supports, statistics and reality, and then take a question like this and be upset about it because you didn't get the answer you wanted. If you're not getting the answer you want, if you want women to start saying they would prefer the man in the woods that day, what is it that we can do to make society a place where women will say, I don't mind being with a strange man in the woods?
Yeah, fair to say.
And that's actually where
Puck, please go ahead.
Well, see, that's where I was most curious about this, is what is the next step? It's like, okay, we've asked the question, we've established a baseline. Where do we want to go? Because I've heard some people say, some women say that, on my Facebook feed, they say they don't want the answer to be, I would rather be with a bear. They don't want to be afraid of men.
Right.
But I don't see that like everywhere. So I don't know if that's a global goal. And of course, nobody's going to be able to speak for all women everywhere. But assuming that the goal is make men less scary, is that reasonable to state as what the goal of man versus bear should be going out of this?
I think,
or at the very least, just acknowledging where we're at as a society. I think it's more of a litmus test. I think that this question isn't necessarily about moving the needle, although good information and good data is how we understand where we're at in order to begin to move the needle. But I think it just serves as a litmus test, as a benchmark to say, oh no, as a society broadly, we're in a pretty bad place in terms of men's reputation. Is that reputation accurate? Well, yeah, kind of in a lot of ways. Is it really useful in any meaningful way, in my mind, to sit here and debate about what is more likely to happen out in the woods between this type of bear or this type of man? I honestly don't care. The mere fact that we are having a conversation where so many of us feel very clearly that it's not a clear answer, or that there is any reason to choose the bear, which has been largely unchanged for millions of years, says to me that there's something about humanity or human culture that needs to change.
Yes, absolutely. And I think also something we can take away from this entire situation has less to do with the actual question and the actual content, and more to do with learning to ask why instead of getting offended. Say, for example, I got on TikTok today and there was maybe the same prompt going on that was like, would you rather be stuck in the woods with a woman or a bear? And 100% of the responses were men saying a bear, a bear, a bear. My first question would be, why? What's going on? What did I miss? What is it about men that makes every single one of them prefer the bear over the woman? My first instinct would not to be filming my own TikTok about how ludicrous it is, about how stupid it is, how I'm not one of the women they're afraid of, yada, yada, yada. I would be confused and I would be concerned and I would want to know what is going on and why they feel this way. And so I think even just like on a micro level, we can make a step in the right direction by encouraging people to ask that question, as opposed to pick a side, as opposed to be offended, as opposed to, yeah, I agree with them, I disagree with them. Before we even get there, maybe we should ask why.
Yeah. Again, it's not about whether or not the answer to the question is correct, although I
Right.
think you can make really compelling arguments, but rather what the fuck that we have to ask this question in the first damn place. That's what
Yes.
scares me. That's where I get concerned here.
Yes. Yeah. Does that answer your
Well,
question?
you guys had great responses. No, yeah, it's beautiful, and in a way, I'm glad that the dialogue is happening. At the same time, I kind of wish it didn't have to. But
Right.
I'm glad that there is talk about it, and I'm glad there is a path forward, and that conversations are happening. And I think the conversations that are happening in the small spaces that we don't get to see, not the TikTok videos, but the ones where people are reaching out to their friends and their family and their wives and their girlfriends and their daughters and saying, "Okay, can you help me understand this?" Those are the conversations that are important to happen. I'm glad that they are happening, and I've been hearing those conversations happening more often. I'm really glad to see that.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. 100%.
Let's hope it means something. You know,
Yeah.
like I would rather be having this conversation than whether a dress is, you know, blue and gold or whatever else.
Yes.
But, you know, if the internet can be harnessed for ridiculous silliness and this is some part of that engine, then let's hope it can also be a mechanism for better understanding of the experiences of some 51% of our entire population, which very much has to live in fear of these types of concerns.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
All right.
And-
Well, thank you guys very much for indulging my topic today.